Hi everyone, it's Erin Scott here. Welcome to your October 2019 Alchemy Scope. Let's take a look at your growth processes, your natural growth processes for this Libra new moon cycle, which is correlating with our month of October, through three different modalities: an art channeling, a divinatory message, and an analysis of your astrological cycle. Scorpio. So let's take a look at this art channeling that came through for you first. I'll let you know that as I'm recording this, there's a beautiful rainstorm happening outside. Okay, firstly, let me just say we're going to be looking at this. Haven't analyzed it yet. We're going to analyze it now. So you can see a form coming through, Scorpio at the top, underlined with this kind of flowing, form developing. And what you might be starting to notice here is that the base of this flowing form, essentially it's becoming like a flowing skirt, like a floor length gown. And up at that top point, you can see kind of the waist of this blue becoming a blue skirt. And you can see, just notice the qualities of it, because even up at the top, there's this kind of almost like an Art Deco sort of feel to this, the style, but it's a very flowing narrative. The quality of the month, because what we're doing is we're tapping into your October themes, at least some of the themes that may be coming forward for you for your growth and evolution. So you can see this is a blue skirt. There's a couple of different blues there. It's soft, it's flowy. And there's almost, there's almost like a flower aspect or quality to the drawing. And you can see that there's these circles that are developing at the base of the skirt with dots around the circle. I don't know what that means yet for you. And I haven't counted the dots yet, so we'll look at that as well. But there's a delicacy there. And then what's happening here underneath the waist, everybody, there's this, what came to mind was almost like a lace, like a netting, a piece of netting that was part of the design aspect of the skirt. And then what's coming, it's almost like this kind of tulip formation at the top of that waist. And then there's these, what felt like they were arms extended underneath Scorpio. There's these, what felt as I was drawing it, like these elongated arms that were coming out. But ultimately what it came to be was almost like the arms extended, but the arms have this wrap, like a chiffon wrap that is over the shoulders and along the arms and is draping down. And Scorp, what you can see here is there's this teal at the bottom of that wrap, and then there's this orange coloration at the top of the wrap, and also at the top part of the bodice component of the dress. There is no head here. There's no upper shoulder area. There's no, neck, head. Just the body. Okay? Now, at the bottom of the skirt, we have, again, I haven't counted these spheres, but there's these, like, flow, there's an energetic flow coming out from the skirt and then wrapping around, almost like a boomerang. And it was a very specific motion, you can see there with the arrow. And now there's cat eyes in the C of Scorpio. And now what you're going to see here is like footprints emerging. As you're looking at that, I'm going to pull out my alphabet guide here. And you can see here that there's like sand dunes. I wrote sand dunes, but there's these feet in kind of, I don't know, mounds, and then sand dunes were really the visual image, so I wrote them out. And you can see the feet now, these are like the imprinting of the footprints shadowed in the sand dunes. Okay, Scorp, so let's now take a look at the stilled image here, and let's kind of analyze this. Now, there's a couple of things that I want to look at. We're going to start first with the skirt. So the skirt is the first thing that came forward. Now, there's a couple things about it. Actually, before we look at the skirt, let's just look at the overall image, because the overall image has almost kind of a regal, statuesque, graceful, beautiful quality set to it. That's the one thing that I'll speak to here. There's a flow to it, there's a grace to it, there's an uprightness to it, there's a grace, but also a strength. There's a strength. And there's something here too that's formal. There's a formality to it. There's almost stepping up or standing up formally to announce something, to accept the praise, to meet what's coming. Do you understand? I mean, there's something here that's just simply showing up in a different way, showing up in an up-leveled way. But there is something here too that almost feels like there's a royal aspect, certainly a formal aspect. There's something here about getting dressed up and going to some unique or different award ceremony, or going somewhere very rare and specialized. Now, is this going to happen for all of you in the month of October? Well, maybe not. But there's certainly something even symbolically of up-leveling. Now, are some of you up-leveling how you look and what you wear this month? Absolutely, that could be the case. But there's something else here, though. There is a flow, and when we're looking at the coloration. So first came the skirt. Let's talk about the skirt first, then we'll talk about kind of the whole, I guess the outfit is what we would call it. But the skirt came first. Now it's flowing. It's long. It's to the floor. There is, again, something like evening attire here. And if we're talking about that, because this is evening attire, if we're talking about evening attire, we're talking about something when the sun is down. This is at night when the sun is down, right? So there's something there inherently with regards to stepping up or standing up or up-leveling the self when it comes to the inner self, the inner aspect, the shadowed parts of the self. There's something being assimilated, Scorpio, in October. There's something about how you are processing your shadow, how you own it. See, definitely here, there's something here about owning yourself, stepping up to yourself, being unashamed by X, Y, or Z, okay? Now, let's talk about the skirt. It's floor length. It's covering all of the legs. I don't know what that means yet. Certainly the length is formal. There's a formality to it, but there's something else. I mean, certainly the legs are how you're progressing forward. I think maybe with the skirt being long and covering all of the legs, there might be something here to say that for a lot of Scorpios in the month of October, you might not know exactly where you're going, but you are putting one foot in front of the other. In fact, we have the feet right next to the skirt. So you're putting one foot in front of the other, but the legs are hidden. You might not know the details of your foundations quite yet, but maybe you're just doing the best you can as you know to do it now. And you're setting yourself up for the success that you're clear on in the moment. Okay? For some of you, that you're going to feel the truth of that. All right? Now, the skirt is blue. Blue, of course, is fifth chakra, so communications. It's also sixth chakra, which is, the connection to third eye knowledge, psychic knowledge, spiritual knowledge, etc. So is there some sort of spiritual communication that is now being up-leveled, formalized, put into a formal context? That's another thing, Scorp. That there's something here about what you have been, let's say, working on. Some of you have been working on creative projects. This is like a gown. Who knows? Maybe she made the gown. But for some of you, you're working on creatively inspired projects that you are now stepping up into them in a new way. And you are progressing. And there's a beauty to it. There's clearly a Venusian beauty element here at play. So there's certain aesthetic qualities that some of you are attending to for whatever creative projects you're working on, or hobbies. Some of you literally are seamstresses or designers, where this is really going to be more of a direct link to your particular narrative. But for others of you, there are design or aesthetic considerations that you are simply attending to. Now, very clearly, this could certainly have to do with your own wardrobe, your own beauty. But it's beyond the superficial, though. There's something here about standing upright in yourself. It's like owning the goddess, for example. Okay? So, blue, there's some sort of communications that are now standing on their own 2 feet in a new way. Okay? Now, let's take a peek. I am looking at the dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 11 of those dots with little dots around them on the left side. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have 11 and 9, everybody, which is fascinating. Let me make sure that's correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, this is the beauty with this is reverse. This is 9/11. And 9/11 is a number that certainly speaks to meeting the obligatory lesson to be an inspiring force or some sort of a model for enlightenment. 9/11. It's like stepping up to the humanitarian call to be your own enlightened self and perhaps be a model for others. Okay? But it is about stepping up, and there's an emergency orientation to the 9/11 for obvious reasons. So 9/11 is kind of implicated here. And of course, it really is 11/9. So 119. What I would encourage some of you to do that are intrigued, look up 119 in the angel number directories online. Because 9/11 could have some because of the orientation of the numbers, it could have different meanings, different nuances. But 11 certainly is a master number. 9 is the humanitarian, and it's also spiritual lessons. So what I feel here is with the 11 before the 9, if we're reading left to right, this could indicate that you are enlightened or you're stepping up as the enlightened one with regards to the spiritual lessons you've been going through. In addition to that, we have these kind of spheres that are curving out, up and out from the skirt, back to the front of the person here. 1, 2, I'm actually counting the circle that's actually at the base of the skirt, which is filled in with blue. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 11 of these spheres. So there's something here. You're letting communication flow. It's coming up and back around. There's a boomerang effect. There's a feedback loop effect. The more you're communicating, the more you're receiving back. There's a harvest here, Scorpio. Something in October, you're going to see some sort of a harvest, a return on your investment. The things that you're choosing to communicate upon or share, the spiritual realities that you're sharing and bringing forward, you are going to receive feedback accordingly. There's some sort of return on your investment here. In addition to that, we have the feet in the sand dunes. Now, these are the impressions of the feet. Sand is not firm. So it might be that the footsteps or the footprints here in the sand dunes could maybe indicate that in October you don't necessarily have firm footing, but that doesn't mean that you're not stepping up and into this up-leveled role of being. You're stepping up with grace and beauty. You don't have it all figured out. The legs are hidden. The foot is on a collapsible footing there with the sand dunes, right? And sand, by the way, sand dunes is also kind of a barren landscape, right? So there's something here about collapsing, not feeling completely grounded or rooted or firm. You're not on terra firma necessarily. And indeed, look at the skirt. The skirt is floating. The skirt is floating, Scorp. So there's something here about she's upright and she's confident. I mean, there's a confidence here. There's a grace. There's indeed a royalty here. There's a goddess energy here. There's a Pallas Athena energy here. But she's floating. And indeed, the feet are not on terra firma. But it doesn't mean that she's not just doing her best. She's not doing what she knows to do now. In addition to that, we have the top of the bodice, which is orange. Orange does indicate expansion energy, education energy. There's a lot of movement with orange. Certainly, second chakra orange is creativity. So there's this creative expression that's also coming out, certainly indicated simply by the gown. So there's an aesthetic quality. There's a beauty quality. There's a creativity that is coming up and out, up and out. Do you see that? Up through the waist. The other thing is the waist is kind of highlighted with that black, let's say, belt, okay? So the waist is emphasized here, and I don't know the meaning of waist. If we take waist, W-A-I-S-T, to be a kind of a modifier of waste, W-A-S-T-E, I'm wondering if that's applicable here. Let me take a little sip of my drink. You know what, Scorp, this is what I want to say. For some of you, this is not, this won't land. This is not going to apply, but this is what I want to say. It could very well be. Because as I was drawing this, the waist did want to be emphasized. There's also another sign that also had a waist being emphasized, okay? Now, if waist around the human form is equating to the word waste, which is refuse or trash, then I wonder if there is some sort of recycling or reusing of information that is being creatively packaged, creatively used in order to share, because I'm looking at this big kind of wrap that's coming up and out to the right and to the left, teal and orange. There's something here about you possibly creatively taking waste, information that's been forgotten, things from the past that has not been used, thrown away. and you are bringing it up and forward and sharing it, distributing it left and right. Okay? I think that might be accurate. At least that's how I'm tuning into it. I encourage each of you to tap into the waist of the body and see what that brings forward for you intuitively. Now, at the top, the C of Scorpio has a cat face, cat eyes. Now, I need to look something up here. Okay. Now, C is number 3 in the Pythagorean alphabet. So, and 3 is collaboration, it's teamwork, it's community. But 3 is also communication and creativity. Okay? It's a new birth stemming from the merging of the 2, right? That's 3. So there's a creative emergence. Now, cat is sitting in the C. The cat eyes specifically. Cats are intuitive. They're adaptable, they're flexible, they're intuitive, and they can see. They can see through layers of consciousness, you know. There's something about creative seeing. You're able to see, and look at the cat eyes, and the C is up on top of, let's say, the shoulder area or the arms of the extended wrap. So there's something like the cat eyes or the intuitive eyes, the psychically attuned eyes that can see through the veil are at a high position. You're able to see from a higher vantage point. Beautiful that. I love this for you. It's going to be a fascinating month. Now, let's go on to your growth edge, which came through. Like I did last month, I went outside and I pulled cards for each of the signs, and what a beautiful day it was outside. Halloween decor and all. And Scorps, you received Heartline. This is your maturation for this month. This is a main growth edge for you, okay? Heartline, you are entitled to your feelings. Now, for this month ahead, this is your reflection. Where do our feelings come from, and why do we feel the way we do? It has been said that 90% of our problems come from our past. Examine what you hold on to and what needs to be set free. Hold on to those items that you care about and bring you peace, because this is who you really are. And do not be afraid to express these emotions. Very much expression with the gown, I think. Be authentic. Remember that there are no quote-unquote bad feelings, which is absolutely the case, always true. Whatever you feel, you have a right to feel. Just remember to express those feelings in an appropriate fashion. Interesting that she's using the term fashion here, coming from the art with the fashion. If you're not sure what you're feeling, try writing your thoughts out in a journal. Appropriate fashion. Just remember to express these feelings in an appropriate fashion. Beauties, I just want to say this, and then we'll move on to your astrology. There's something about that, because it's almost like the gown for you in the art channeling is your appropriate self. It's the up-leveled, higher frequency, confident and upright self. And so in a way, the fashion that we saw there was the quote-unquote appropriate fashion. Now, link that into the heart line and your expression of what you feel and think about things. That you're valid, that your opinion matters, that your feeling matters, etc. There's an appropriate fashion for that. Link them because they're inherently linked. This is all for you this month. All right, now let's talk about your astrology. Now, the chart that you're looking at here, this is for the archetypal Aries at the first house chart, and it is for our new moon that we had in Libra that is imbuing the energetic cycle for this month ahead. It's the signature of this month and the themes. Now, I am looking at my notes to talk to you about your particular activations. Now, Scorp, for you, we had the sun moon conjunct at 5 degrees Libra happening in your 12th house. That sun moon is, of course, the conjunction of the outer self and the inner self. And every month, we have this new moon that is a new seeding time for a new iteration of the individual, a new iteration of the self. Okay? This particular new moon in your 12th house is at degree number 5 degrees 20 minutes Libra. This inherently has to do with the new self dealing with changes happening for the self. 5 degrees is change, it's freedom, it's also creativity, it's also chaos. So there's a lot of action and movement with 5. There's certainly a lot of change happening with 5. There's a freedom being evoked with 5. So what does this mean? Well, it inherently, for all of us, for all the signs, there are changes activated for the individual, and simultaneous with that is changes happening with our relationships. Why? Because this is happening in Libra. The sun moon conjunct at 5 degrees Libra. Now, for you, this is happening in your 12th house of karmic activation. So for you, there will be changes with relationships. Now, for some of you, this is going to be an explosion of new relationships. For others of you, there are going to be some narratives coming to pass where people might change. And indeed, they might leave, or they might exit or create boundary. And this is, by the way, kind of exacerbated in certain ways because the sun moon conjunct at 5 degrees in your 12th house is quincunxing that 5 degree Uranus and Taurus. And for you, that is happening in your 7th house. So 12th house to 7th house, karmic activation or experiences necessary to go through, quincunxing. So with a difficult relationship to changes with relationships, Uranus in the 7th. So indeed, there are shifts and changes happening, which just step back and take a breath. All is well. Every single individual on this planet is going through radicalized up-leveling, radicalized shift and change. All is well. It's part of the natural process. So people will, as they align or at least govern the navigation of their alignment to who they really are, they will leave, they will boundary, they will reassociate, they will unfriend on Facebook, and they will go find new groups. That's just the process. For you, I will say, you are going through that. Okay? And in addition to that, that sun moon is also squaring the Saturn South Node conjunction in Capricorn. And for you, that's in the 3rd house. 3rd house, again, is your local community, it's siblings. It's also your teams, like your local collaborators, the teams of people. Of course, this is the 3rd house for you. Where do we have 3? Oh, in Scorpio with the cat eyes in the sea. So for you, with this kind of Capricornian intensified transmutation happening with all 3rd house narratives for you, local groups, neighbors, siblings. Also, importantly, your mind. Your 3rd house is your thinking, your thoughts, your thought focuses, your how you process information. It's also, by the way, how you communicate. So, all of that karmically this month is changing. It's up-leveling, but it's not without some friction. For most, I think for some of you, you're actually going to be able to ride this wave very successfully. For others of you, because all of those planets in Libra, by the way, we also have Mercury and Venus in your 12th house as we start the cycle for this October process. Venus and Mercury are conjunct in that 12th house in Libra. And they are also squaring Pluto, Saturn, South Node. Okay? The Sun Moon is not squaring Pluto, but the other planets are. So Venus and Mercury conjunct in Libra 12th house. There's a lot of thoughts for you that are naturally oriented toward the truth of who you are, the truth of your own value, and the truth of your own value when it comes to people and relationships. Do you understand? There's a lot of natural focus for Scorpios this month on how they are valuable and deserving of a equal participation dynamic in the relationships that they have. Okay? Now, karmically, there are activations with relationships happening this month. Meaning you stepping into more of your own alignment with your own truth, with your own value. Keep in mind, Venus is also beauty, and especially with your art channeling that came through, lots of aesthetic, lots of creativity, lots of alignment to the beautiful person that you are inherently. So there's something there. There's something there where you're owning your own value. There is a confidence that's emerging. But again, it's not without its growth process. Why? Because of the square happening with third house, South Node, Saturn, Pluto. And indeed, at this Libra new moon, as we enter the October cycle of natural growth and evolution, indeed, Saturn was essentially exactly conjunct that South Node. And this is intense for all of us. Why? Because the South Node is past patterns. Past patterns. For you, it has to do with past patterns of thinking, past patterns of mind, thought, past patterns of communication, specifically past patterns that are overly controlling, overly disciplinarian, overly limiting, and by the way, overly negative, like a negative orientation to the thought processes. That's transmutating. That's being asked to be up-leveled, matured, and evolved. But it has not been easy. It's been a challenging time for all of us with South Node conjunct Saturn for months now. But indeed, as we start October, it essentially was an exact conjunction. So the other things that are happening for you this month, Scorp, is this T-square between Mars in Virgo opposed Neptune in Pisces, squaring Jupiter in Sagittarius. And for you, Jupiter is in your second house of values, sense of self-value, the money that you earn to meet your basic essential needs through teaching, through sharing information on media. That T-square with Mars and Virgo is giving you some juice, some fire, some motivation to get the work done. And indeed, it's connected to Neptune, which is giving you the imaginal capacity and ability to really connect to the deeper layers of your creativity. Why? Because Neptune is in that fifth house. So for you, for this very long multi-year extended cycle, Neptune through your fifth house is enabling you. It's not without its issues, though. Neptune in the fifth can also have you not attend to the creativity calling, okay? But when you do focus yourself, when you do focus and indeed practice spiritual daily ritual like meditation, etc., that Neptune in the fifth house, my goodness, that can give you amazingly deep creative downloads, insight, visualization, imagination, and output. And for you, during this process of October, that opposition to Mars and Virgo is giving you the drive to get to work on the humanitarian work that you're here to do. Again, that dress had 9 and 11 in it, Scorp, right? Very big stuff. So Virgo in your 11th house opposed Neptune in the 5th, squaring Jupiter in the 2nd. You are growing, evolving. You're becoming the teacher or the role model that you're here to be in this world. at least align with your own value system. Jupiter in that second, loving yourself, learning to love yourself. That is just part of the narrative. And with this particular T-square kind of giving this impetus for the energetics of the growth cycle this month, you are going to get to work. You're going to have your mind focused there, okay? Now, let's see what else I wanted to bring forward. There's also the other thing that I'll say about this particular moon, which is important, is that the Sun-Moon conjunction at 5 degrees Libra in your 12th house is essentially exactly opposed Chiron at 3 degrees Aries. And for you, Chiron in Aries is in the 6th house of work. So it means that karmically, there are new beginnings for you happening. 5-degree inner and outer self, 12th house. The inner soul structure of who you are is changing. Your dynamics of living in your value inside of relationships, meaning owning your own value and not giving all your power away to the other, for example. It can show up in different ways, but not holding your own in whenever there's another person involved. That's being recalibrated, but it's not without its insecurities. So this month, with your day-to-day work, you're going to be contending with some vulnerabilities, some self-doubt as you move into this new iteration of yourself. But that's okay. The other side, of course, of Chiron in your 6th house in Aries is ultimately this process, this extended multi-year process of Chiron through Aries for you is going to have you tap into you as master teacher, master healer, as you're in your work, in the work that you do, in what you do for your day-to-day, whatever your day-to-day patterning is. And indeed, because that Chiron's in the 6th house, there's very likely something involving health and healing with regards to mind, body, or spirit that's going to be activated for you, right? Now, during October, that's activated, and there's some insecurity also because of this Sun-Moon conjunct at 5 degrees, 12th house. Karmically, you are up-leveling. There's an upgrade, let's say, happening. Feel into that, because I do believe it's truth. It's truth. Now, I'll bring up more. We're going to talk more about your astrology for the November scopes. For those of you interested, I'm going to be posting sales for the month of October. You can find the links to my websites below this video. This is the time, I say this with sincerity, Scorpio, because I've been doing a lot of 2020 analyses for clients, you know. It is the time for these next few months, October, November, December, as we round out the 2019 cycle. Please understand, with truth and sincerity, this simply is the time for maximal clarity, self-discipline, and mature growth, and for understanding your who you are, why you're here, and what's activated for you in this coming cycle of 2020, 2021, etc. So for those interested, yes, you can tap into the analyses, and all those links are below the video, okay? Okay, Scorpio, listen, I send you so much love and support for this amazing month. We are moving into, of course, the Scorpio season at the end of October. And so this is really we're going to start your cycle very, very soon here, all right? So I wish you a wonderful month, and I'll talk to you soon. All right, bye-bye.